Hello, everyone. Welcome to our workshop. Please excuse my voice. I have laryngitis today. I'm joining you as Amna Burki from Winnipeg, Manitoba, and it's on Treaty 1 territory, which is the original lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Dene, Dakota, Ojibwe, Oji Cree, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. Over to David.
I'm David Heathfield. I'm in Exeter, Devon, the southwest of England. Let's just be together. Let's have the gallery view and look around at who's with us in this space, in this workshop. If your camera is off, that's okay. But if you're able to switch your camera on just for a few moments at least, if it's comfortable for you, if you're not listening or joining us in bed as I was early this morning with my camera off, if you are able to, please switch on your camera for a few moments and let's just sit ourselves square on in the middle of the screen and look around at this global community of story sharers and story lovers. Thank you, Eric, for hosting this very special global event. There's lots of people I'm looking at and recognising. Perhaps you know some of the people in the room as well. And exciting, because there are some people I'm looking at and thinking, I don't think I've ever met you before. And that's even more precious, making new friends in this global community that we've been privileged to be invited to today. Let's be together and celebrate the fruit of our imagination. If you're comfortable to, have a stretch, maybe even stand up like me. Let's go for a little stroll out of our homes, away into the forest. Oh, look, breathe the fresh air, fill your lungs and have a stretch. Some of us have been sitting in front of a screen for hours already. Oh, look, here in the forest is a tree that's laden with fruit. Perhaps I could just reach up and pluck the lowest one. I'll have to reach onto my toes, stretching up, and oh, I can feel that fruit. The texture of the skin, turn it gently, pluck it, and bring it slowly down. Feel the weight, smell it. Oh, it's a flavour I've never smelt before. This is a fruit I've never tasted before. Have you? No? Let's just savour the moment we're about to peel it. Open it and discover this juice. We know it's safe. There's no fear of any danger. Oh, the flesh. It's juicy. Look at the colour. What are you imagining? Let's taste it. Oh, so refreshing. Savour it. There's one more. I'm going to reach up with my other hand. Will you do the same? Even higher, stretching up and pluck. This one is a story to savour and save and share it later. Perhaps later today after this workshop, or perhaps save it till after the festival, where we can share all our wonderful learning with everyone we meet. The fruit of our imagination. Yes. This workshop, Storytelling to Celebrate Cultural Diversity, is at the very heart of my work as a storyteller. My aim as a storyteller is to share stories, to bring people together, to understand each other across cultures. I love learning stories from diverse cultures. My favourite way of learning a story is when I hear it from a person's mouth, a person who tells me, and then allows me, or even often welcomes me, or encourages me, or even urges me to pass the story on to others. Sharing stories from around the world. That's what we're looking at today. Let's imagine the experience of the newcomer, a person who arrives who's in a minority. Perhaps the language that you speak isn't the language of the majority in the land where you are. Perhaps your culture is the minority culture. Perhaps this person feels sometimes an outsider. Perhaps discriminated against. Othered. It's so important, isn't it, that that person's heritage is acknowledged, welcomed, celebrated. That's what our workshop is all about. I'm a white British male storyteller here in the UK. And in many of the countries where I work as a storyteller, the Netherlands, Germany, Denmark, I'm also in the majority, the white European male. And I bring stories and encourage people to tell stories. When I go into a school, I'll find out where the children come from, their home languages, their home cultures. And with permission, I will share stories from those heritages. Oh, Mum, today the storyteller told a story from Syria, from our home. Amna Burki I met through storytelling courses that I run. And Amna comes from a family from northern India. Amna grew up in Pakistan. Amna came to the UK, to London, and studied. For many years, Amna has lived and worked and raised a family in Winnipeg, Manitoba, in Canada. Both of us value sharing stories from minority heritages. I from other heritages, Amna often telling stories from her own traditions, her own family heritages. Amna, over to you.
Thank you, David. Just to let you know all, I have a throat infection right now, so that's why I sound masculine, almost the closest I'll sound like a man for a long time. Storytelling has basically changed my life, not only in work settings where I was part of a program that was looking at how to bring intergenerational volunteering for newcomer seniors. So these are seniors who are from all over the world, language barriers. And one of the things that landed me in storytelling was what to do in the pandemic when we have the distance from the seniors and the preschoolers and the newcomers. So storytelling then became a way, an opportunity to open up doors. And David's gonna share a video we did a few days ago with a recording of a story because my voice won't allow me to go into the story today.
Thank you, Amna. Yes. Fortunately, Amna and I did a run through in preparation for today, and wisely before even having a hint of knowing that she might go down with a throat infection. Amna Burki, you recorded that run through. So Amna yesterday contacted me. I don't think I'm able to speak. So we're going to listen to Amna almost live. It was just the day before yesterday, wasn't it, Amna? Telling the story, a story about Hatim Tai. So Amna's going to tell her story. Then we're going to do some reflective activities. I'm going to tell a story. We'll do some more creative response activities. And then in a breakout room, some of you will have an opportunity to tell a story that fits with the theme of this workshop, sharing stories to celebrate cultural diversity. So you already might be thinking of a very short 3-4 minute story that you might like to share. Most of us will be listeners in the breakout rooms, but that's coming further down the line in this 90-minute workshop. So Amna Burki tells a story.
So, in my work context, I worked as a facilitator and a trainer with newcomers, refugees, service providers. One thing that drew me to storytelling was the fact that in the pandemic, we needed more ways of connecting to people. And many people mentioned storytelling as a way to build those connections. And when I started using storytelling, it wasn't just amazing in the work that I was doing, but also it helped me understand my place in this world, connect me to my story and my family and what was important for them. And one of the names growing up I heard was about Hatem Tai and his generosity. My mother used to frequently mention the generosity of Hatem Tai. And over the last 1 or 2 years, I've tried to find out more about Hatem Tai. Who is this person and why is he famous? What is about him that is about generosity? And this tale that I bring to you today is collected by Idris Shah in Tales of the Rishis, which is teaching tales for over 1,000 years. And it's about generosity of Hatem Tai. So one of the things I heard my mother saying over the years when I was growing up was Hatem Tai ki kabar pe lat marna, which basically means, you're not even close to generosity yet you think you're being generous. Kan ya makan fi qadim zaman. There was an Arabian king long, long time ago in the 6th century who wanted to know what his people really thought about him. So one day he disguised himself as a beggar and went to eavesdrop on conversations that his subjects were having. And would you believe, to his surprise, he found out no one was thinking about him at all. In fact, his subjects, his people, were obsessed with another Arabian king named Hatem Tai. Some were saying, "Did you hear about his generosity? The new tale about his generosity? Oh, wait till you hear about his horse and his hospitality, his bravery, his valor, his kindness." He couldn't take it anymore. He came back and he was fuming. He was enraged. He was disgusted with his subjects. My people talking about another king the way they should be talking about me. What's wrong with them? I'm kind, I'm generous, I'm noble, hospitable. I'm going to teach that Hatem Tai a lesson he will never forget. So with that, he summoned his most trusted messenger and sent him to Hatem Tai's domain to tell him that I will take over your land and your people and your fighting men and your oases and your camels and your horses and everything. And no one will remember you and no one will talk about your generosity. When Hatim Tai heard about this, he consulted with his ministers, who were unanimous in saying that, Hatim, we, to the last person in this kingdom, will lay our life for you to defend this kingdom. But to their surprise, Hatim Tai said, no. In fact, it is against the principle of generosity that any one of you is harmed because of me. The best option for me is to flee. I will take one servant and hide in the caves nearby. This way, the new king, the tyrant king, will take over this domain, but he will not harm you. He will not increase the taxes, and he will not take for him more than is necessary. And to the shock of everyone, that's exactly what Hatim Tai did. He fled. Now, Hatim's people were surprised and shocked and divided about what they had just witnessed. Some who wanted to make a name for themselves in valor, in the area of valor, they said, was this a coward king that was ruling over us all these years? And others were so impressed with Hatem Tai's kindness and generosity for giving up his position and his domain to keep them safe. And yet others did not know what to think. They were unsure of what the tyrant king would do to them. So they kept silent. And yes, as predicted by Hatem Tai, the tyrant king came over and he did not fight with them. He did not increase taxes and he did not take from them more than they were used to during Hatem Tai's reign. Months passed like that. But there was something in the air, a type of fear unknown to people prior to this new king's arrival. They were afraid of this king, but they would not express so. And this king, too, knew that many of the people, many of his new subjects think that the only reason why he has the domain of Hatem Tai is because of the generosity of Hatem Tai in leaving the land for him. So he decided one day, and he passed an edict: whoever brings me Hatem Tai will get 5,000 gold coins. Now, this led to a lot of search for Hatem Tai. Many people were greedy for the new money that was being offered, the gold coins. One day, Hatem Tai, it was not known to him what had just been passed as an edict. Unaware of what was going on in his domain, he was sitting outside his cave when he heard a conversation between a woodcutter and his wife. And the woodcutter said to his wife, "My dear wife, you will be secure if we capture Hatem Tai and claim our reward of 5,000 gold coins. I am getting older and you're much younger than I am, and our children are so young. This way I will never have to worry about you." "Shame on you," said the wife. "How dare you even suggest this? How dare you even think about this? I would rather starve to death along with my little children than lay a finger on the kind king whose rule was full of prosperity for us. I would never allow you to do that." The woodcutter continued, "My dear wife, why are you getting emotional? I'm just thinking about your future and the future of our children. In fact, many people have already started saying that Hatem Tai was a coward to leave us like this. He himself just fled." And the wife responded, "No, actually, it is the greed of people that's making them say this." While they were arguing,
Hatim Tai appeared before them and said, I am Hatim Tai. Take me to your new king and claim your reward. Both the woodcutter and his wife said, no, 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 no. We were just having a conversation. We could never do that to you. Hatim Tai continued, no, in fact, woodcutter, if you don't take me to your new king, I will claim that you were actually hiding me, and then you will be tried for treason. While they were all arguing, a mob collected around them and they dragged Hatim Tai in front of the new king. The woodcutter and his wife miserably followed behind. Now, when Hatim Tai appeared in front of the tyrant king, he said, allow me to say one thing before you do anything to me. You can take my life, but I have to say one thing. It is not that mob that found me. It is actually this woodcutter and his wife. So that reward that you have for me must go to the woodcutter and his wife and their children. So shocked was the tyrant king with this claim, and it was corroborated by woodcutter, who said, yes, we were having a conversation and Hatim Tai said, claim your reward. You are the first ones to find me. So shocked was the new king that he placed Hatim Tai back on his throne and said, indeed, my people were correct. You are the most generous man on earth. And with that, he pulled his army back and he left once and for all.
Thank you, Amna. Three characters in that story, apart from Hatim Tai himself. Three characters, we hear their voices. The voice of the tyrant king. Also the voice of an old husband, a woodcutter. And the voice of the old woodcutter's young wife. Those three characters we'd ask you to reflect on. And we're going to go into a breakout room in a moment. Now I can see that some people have their cameras on and some people have their cameras off, and to get a sense of how many people are present and engaged and ready to participate in a breakout room, can I ask everybody to switch your cameras on so we can just get a sense of how many people are actively participating. So I think I can see about 15 active participants, and probably about the same number of people who might be sort of with their videos off. So what we'll do is we're going to put you into groups of 4. And in your group of 4, you might find that there'll be, well, let's actually make it groups of 5. There might be 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 or 5 people who are present and active in the room. And what we would ask you to do in the breakout room is to talk about 2 things. One, apart from Hatim Tai, which character makes an impression on you and how? So think about the tyrant king, the woodcutter's wife who defends Hatim Tai, the woodcutter who is saying, Hatim Tai, he's a coward. We should take the money, the reward, the bounty, and in that way, you, my wife, will be able to be safe when I'm gone. Our children will be well. And the wife saying, well, no, I'm willing to sacrifice myself and the future of our children just to defend this beloved and kind-hearted, generous ruler. So which character makes an impression on you and how? And the second question is, what is the story for you all about? What is the story about for you? So which character makes an impression apart from Hatim Tai, and which what theme, what meaning do you find in this story? So we'd like you to go into a breakout room. Amna, how many minutes did you have in mind for this breakout room?
David, I think like 7, 8 minutes.
Okay,
Is that good or
that's quite a short time. Let's make it 10. So everyone,
make it
and
10?
could you make sure in your breakout room, first of all, find out how many people are present, and then make sure that in those 10 minutes that everybody has an equal chance to share their point of view. So find a timekeeper in the room, the nominated timekeeper. Can you make sure the time is divided between all of the active participants? That might be 2 of you, that might be 5 of you. Okay, so here we go, and please could you go into your breakout room? See you in 10 minutes. Okay, I'm going to write what I just said. Send it as a broadcasted message.
Yes, so you didn't put me in a room. That's good.
Feel free to join if you would like to.
No, it's better if I stay here. Are you going to stay here too?
Yes, I am.
Great. And one other person is with us. Michaela, can you hear us? Michaela Mogosanu? Well, anyway, that person is with us.
Okay, I've just broadcasted a reminder. That's 16:30, 16:40, where I am.
Oh, I think I'll stop recording.
Is that okay, Eric? Would you like to restart the recording?
Yes.
So we have been talking about which character makes an impression and what meanings do you find in the story. And we're just going to reflect on that only for a few minutes. We could spend an hour on this. But perhaps you'll find a lot of commonality between what other people say and yourself. And feel free to also comment in the chat, so everybody has a chance to share. But who would like to speak first? Particularly, let's look at the first question. Which character makes an impression on you and how? So would somebody like to speak about that? If you just raise your hand, I can see Judy.
Yeah, I felt that the evil king made the greatest impression because he had the greatest transformation.
Thank you. Can you tell us more about the transformation?
Well, at first he was full of himself because he thought he was the best thing around. And so when he went to check with his subjects how great he was looking to really get that, pat on the back. And then he found out he wasn't. And so he took measures to be, as somebody in my group said, to suppress somebody who's better rather than find out why they're better, but to suppress them. So he took over their land and did all that. But at the end, when he actually met this person that was, and he saw what they did, there was like this epiphany, and he acted on that epiphany and gave it all back, recognizing that you're right, you are better than me. And that doesn't mean that I'm not who I am, but that you are, with generosity, more generous than I am. And so to me, he had the greatest transformation.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Judy. And we could, if we want to, we could appreciate, Judy's comment with a wave or however you would like to. in the reactions with a thumbs up or however you would like to, or a love. So Judy talked about the Tyrant King, the transformation. Who else talked about the Tyrant King? Or did other people also talk? Jane Enkin. Is there anything you would like to add to what Judy said?
I was very aware of the king's loneliness, to be in his community among his subjects and hear not a word about himself. He was very sad and very alone and wanted to be somebody for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So his tyrant way of taking power didn't make him popular. Did anyone talk about the woodcutter or the woodcutter's wife? Who would like to comment on one of those characters? Simona.
Well, I talked about the woodcutter's wife, and I was thinking about the concept of kindness and generosity, about the fact that the woodcutter's wife didn't want to harm the generous king just for their own sake to earn money for themselves. And I was thinking about the example that someone who is kind can give us all, and that kindness goes back to the person who shares something with the others, even if you don't personally know this person.
Again, if you would like to appreciate anything that Simona has said, feel free to express that. Would anybody like to add to what Simona said about the woodcutter's wife, the young wife and mother? Laura.
Yes, I would actually like to say something about both of them, so the woodcutter and his wife.
Yeah.
Because when I was listening to the story, I was the first person I identified with was actually the woodcutter, because I too am quite protective of my family and of my loved ones. So I would think about them and their well-being in the first instance, but then I also realized that I really wanted to be the woodcutter's wife, since she really adheres to what she thinks is just and what kind of person she would want to be, and if she would be able to look herself in the eye, if she would make the decision to go after Heathfield. So I think me, the moral was also to be able to defend your choice and to see to be truly selfless, basically. And I think the story is also about self-development, and just I could identify with both of those characters, but I think the woodcutter's wife was especially important to me, since she just represents what all of us would want to be in that situation and how we would want to respond. But I think that's very difficult if you're actually put in such a situation, to be able to make the decision that you know is right, even though it might hurt you or people that you love.
So you think she's acting for the greater good, for the good of the society, rather than for herself and her family?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think what this kind of reflective exercise, we're learning a lot from not only what we've come up with ourselves and other people in our group, but now in the main room, different perspectives on the story. I'm going to please, everybody, feel free to add comments in the chat, either agreeing or giving different perspectives. We'll have one more comment about this first question from Janet.
I believe that the woodcutter's wife.
Janet, is it possible to speak louder? I don't know about other people, but for me, it's rather quiet.
Is this any better?
Yes.
To me, the woodcutter's wife while she wasn't thinking about the monetary part of raising your family, she was thinking about the spiritual part of raising your family and how would her children be raised if that was how they gained their wealth to get them through life.
Thank you very much. And the second part of Amna's question, or our question, was about the themes in the story. What's the story about? And I think we're already addressing that through our answers to the first question. But who would like to add to that question? What themes, what meaning do you find? And maybe it's a personal meaning, because it might be different for different people. Gustavo, please.
Maybe looking at the other quotations, even if you are powerful, you have to look at the other that is down, and the one that is so down, looking at the other and seeing all the possibilities, looking at the other person and his needs, their needs, and thinking about what can be good for all. Even if we lose something, maybe what's the better thing for all the people? I would take that.
Thank you for the greater good, altruism, for the benefit of all. A kind of compassion as well in that story.
Yes, of course.
Can we? It was Amna who chose to tell this story. A story that's, I think, Hatem Tai is known across Asia, but this is a story that originates somewhere in Western or Central Asia, but known very widely. And Amna, you at the beginning talked about your family referring to that story. Can we just ask you what would you like to reflect on, having listened to other people comment? Are you able to say a couple of words?
Yes, I can try my best. Am I audible enough?
Perfectly.
Okay. I was actually amazed by how people were so reflective on this. Like many things that as a storyteller didn't come to my mind. That process of reflection was amazing. And I think in the beginning, in the video, I mentioned that for me, this is one way, like I don't have my mother with me anymore in this world. It's been a way of connecting to someone like that. So this is a person whose name I heard from my mother. So, what was so special about this amount of generosity that basically saves his kingdom in the end? For me, that theme of everyone doing the generous thing, even if it was at their own personal cost. And then, of course, I think the redemption of the tyrant king, so I think that's why this story and this person and his stories have been around a long time, and they're so powerful. We have a saying in my language, Urdu, which is Hatem Tai ki kabar pe laat marna. And this is something that my mother used to say. And it's basically like, you're not even close to generosity, yet you think you're close to Hatem Tai. And it's again, this parenting through storytelling where, you're reminded that, we have these icons that we can look up to. So find out more about them. Thank you, David.
With your permission, Amna, I would love to tell the story that I just learned from you about Hatem Tai in contexts where I work. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
So we've got Amna bringing her story to Canada and to us, and we can also be thinking about how we respectfully retell these stories. Amna's story, looking at that theme of the greater good, of generosity, there's a story that I'm minded to tell. So I'm going to tell a very short story. Then we're going to do a quick reflective activity, and then it'll be your turn to tell a story looking at this theme of sharing cultural diversity, celebrating cultural diversity. So I ran a project myself with many people in 2021 called Around the World in 88 Tales, and it's all there on the internet, on YouTube. Oops, I've got a bit of a weird visual thing going on there. turn it off and on again, see if it's better. And I met 44 storytellers in different parts of the world, and we exchanged stories inspired by objects at my local museum, the Royal Albert Memorial Museum here in Exeter. And I showed the object from the museum. I told a folk tale that object made me think of, and then I invited a partner in another part of the world to share a story back to me, also inspired by the same object. Amna was one of the partners in that project, as was Simona Stambazzi, who is joining us here in the room as well. So the story I learned from Ralph Mama, I would like to tell to you. Ralph Mama is a storyteller. He's from Benin in West Africa. And Ralph Mama told a story, here's Benin, he told a story that he learned from his elder mother. And he explained his elder mother was his own mother's older sister, and they were the ones who raised him. And so when he told the story in the project, he acknowledged his elder mother and sang a song to evoke her memory, and then told this story. And I think you'll find a connection. So afterwards you can write in the chat what connection you might find between the Hatim Tai story and this story. Okay, I might need to be telling it with my video switched off. Let's find out what happens. I'll try to put it on one more time. If it goes again, you'll just listen to me. And if I do lose video, then I recommend closing your eyes, because we're doing a lot of eye screen time. Not ice cream, eye screen, or screen eyes. And so if you lose my video, feel free to close your eyes. Or you might want to close your eyes anyway. You know, have a break from the visual. So here is Mayambira. There was a hunter. I just remembered something I want to show you. This is, I'm going to show you an image of the museum that did the project with me in partnership. There we are. And the project itself, Around the World in 88 Tales. And here is Ralph Mama himself telling me this story. And he encouraged me to pass on the story. And here is the arrowhead which inspired the story, an object from the museum. So there's my acknowledgement of the source of this story. And you might find that you know this story, or more likely you might know another version, another variant of this story, because there are variants of this story found in many cultures around the world. So here we go. There was a hunter. This hunter lived with his family, his mother and father, who had looked after him when he was young, but now he was old enough to look after them in their old age. He lived with his beloved wife. They had very little. It was a time of famine. Nothing was growing on the land. The people had neglected the land. He walked across the dry land with his bow and arrow, but found no creature to hunt. One morning he came towards the enchanted forest. It was forbidden to enter the forbidden forest. It was forbidden to take any creature that lived in the enchanted forest. But in desperation, he walked into that forest among the green, the lush, the life. And there, jumping towards him, a small antelope. And he raised his arrow and bow and drew it and prepared to shoot the antelope. And the antelope looked at him. "Hunter, hunter, do not kill me. If you kill me, your family will suffer. For many generations they will be cursed. But, hunter, spare my life, and you will have many blessings, as will all the people." And the hunter put down his bow Magic antelope, what will you give me? If you do not kill me, I will give you a wish in return. One wish. What is it? And the hunter looked at the magic antelope and said, Antelope, I need time to reflect before I make my wish. Clever hunter, come back at this hour tomorrow. I will be waiting, waiting, waiting. And the hunter left the enchanted forest, strode back across the arid land. His father was standing at the door. Son, have you caught nothing again today? Father, nothing, but there was an enchanted, a magical antelope in the forest. I didn't kill it. It has granted us a wish. And his father said, Son, we are poor. Wish for wealth. Wish for... That's right, wealth.
Well,
And the hunter thought about this. He went into the house, and there was his beloved wife waiting for him. Husband, have you caught nothing? And he told her about the magic antelope. Husband, for so many years we have longed for a child. Wish for a child. Wish for
a child.
Child.
And the hunter thought about this. And then he sat down beside his old mother around the small fire. His old mother who could no longer walk, his old mother who could no longer see, she was blind. And he told her all that had happened, and she said, Oh, my son, wish for me to be able to see again. Wish for me to see again. And the hunter said, Oh, mother, that would be a fine wish. And all of the rest of the day he wondered what to wish for. Would he wish for wealth, for a child, or for his mother to see again? And the night came, and he went to his bed, and he couldn't sleep. He tossed, and he turned, and he turned, and he tossed all night long. And in the morning, he still didn't know what to do. He took his bow and arrow and strode across the desert land. There was no life. All was dry. The earth was cracked. Nothing was growing. He came to the lush, green, verdant, enchanted forest. He stepped into the forbidden forest, and there, waiting, 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 was the antelope. Hunter, are you ready to make your wish? And at that moment, the hunter knew what to wish for. What do you think he wished for? You can write it in the chat or just call it out. One wish. What's he going to wish for? Turn on your microphones. Just call out your first idea that comes into your head.
The three wishes.
All
best
three
for
wishes, says
everyone.
Gustavo.
In one.
All in one.
Uh-huh.
The best for everyone.
The best
Yes.
for everyone.
Yeah, combination wish.
A combination wish. Ah, this is a room full of storytellers. Antelope. I wish that my dear mother could see her grandchild rocking her own grandchild in a golden cradle. Hunter, clever hunter, wise hunter, the wish is given. And the hunter left the enchanted forest and returned across the land, and the rain began to fall, and new shoots began to sprout, and not long after, that hunter was standing beside his dear mother bright-eyed and happy as she rocked her grandchild in a cradle made of
Gold.
Gold. Not only was that family content, but because of his listening to the needs of the forest and the needs of the land, all of the communities were restored to wealth and health. The land was green, respected, treated fairly. All of the creatures and people lived in harmony. Thank you to Ralph Mama, who told me that story, and Ralph Mama, to your elder mother, who told the story to you. And thank you for the permission to give these good people the opportunity, if they wish, to pass on that story to more people. Perhaps it's a story that's familiar to you. Maybe you've heard a similar story before, the One Wish story. I know it's told in India. I know it's told in Ireland. I know it's told in many countries, in various versions. All three wishes in one. Creative thinking indeed. So what was the connection between Amna's story and the story that I told? The Hatim Tai story and the magic antelope and the hunter story? Judy?
I would say generosity.
Absolutely. Can I ask one person in the room to just tell us a moment in the story that made a big impression on you? A moment in that story of the magic hunter, the hunter and the magic antelope. Yes, please, Veena Sitapali.
Thank you, David. Yes, I've heard your stories and I've been there around the 88 days once or twice with some Indian story. To me, it was the hunter who put his, what was it? The arrow.
Bow and arrow.
Bow down.
When he put his bow down, the moment of the decision.
The moment of decision.
Can I ask everybody in the room to become the hunter at this moment in the story that Veena has chosen? So I'm going to say 3, 2, 1 and make a freeze. The moment he's holding the bow and arrow, the moment he decides to put it down. 3, 2, 1 and freeze. And slowly put that bow down. Thank you, Veena. A wonderful moment.
It sort of gives power to both, I felt. The power of decision to the hunter and the power of telling and the power of being who you are to the antelope. And then, of course, the suspense that happens in the antelope's head and the hunter's head as to why. So I thought that was a very, very unique moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next, a short presentation. Amna prepared a short presentation, a mini presentation within this longer presentation. I'm going to speak Amna's words. Our voices are equally as deep. So here is the presentation that Amna prepared. And afterwards, some of you will have a chance to tell a short story about celebrating cultural diversity. Okay, can everybody see this? Yes. So 2 events took place at the Manitoba Museum in Canada on Canada Day, July the 1st, 2022, inspired from an event in the UK attended by one of the directors from the museum and also inspired by the project Around the World in 88 Tales. Amna was doing a course in community storytelling, and they gave the idea to approach local immigrant businesses to sponsor the event. And Aisham, a Syrian business, said, these are their words: We will set up the place like a magical tea party and provide everything for free as a way of thanking Canadians for opening their doors to us as refugees. The other business that contributed is an Italian bake shop started by immigrants from Argentina. So those are the two businesses. Amna was involved in the project I mentioned, Around the World in 88 Tales. And inspired by the project, Amna approached the Manitoba Museum. How to talk about artifacts in the museum. And this was the plan for an event that Amna designed, the community plan. So you can see here there was an introduction, a meeting at the table, refreshments, and then a story told by Amna, a story of belonging. There were table discussions, another story, diversity as strength, and then a farewell. A simple structure, but the simplicity is deceptive, isn't it? It's so rich. The plan for the evening included folk tales from different cultures, highlighting diversity and belonging. So here are some images that give you a sense of the event. Some slides which highlight the event with free baklava, free coffee, free tea from the Syrian business. Such beautiful images. And here's a photograph of people listening attentively to storytelling, which were storytelling incorporating museum artifacts. And later they had a facilitated conversation with diverse facilitators at each table. On the left, you can see two elderly friends enjoying an evening together in public for the first time in person since the pandemic began. The middle photo shows guests chatting from various ethnic backgrounds, various religions. Look at those smiles. And the photograph on the right shows Amna, or in Amna's words, shows me, holding a museum artifact and the story behind it. And here are some of the people who made the event possible. On the left, the team that decorated the display, very talented volunteers. And here are some quotes from participants at the event. Let's read these. I liked the new and different faces. I was initially with a younger group, and it was very enlightening to hear stories and struggles. I think the venue and event allowed a good, safe place to share things like this. I wish it was longer. I really like the storytelling and I would love to hear more. Events like these are good. I'm quite glad it attracted people I don't usually see and get to talk to. The event also even got younger people interested. What I liked most was the stories and treats, very welcoming staff, good presenters, very animated. I hope I can remember the stories. Love and appreciate the time and effort put into this event. Community is a lovely way to make people interact with each other. All events that bring different cultures to the table are highly welcome. Both the storytellers were amazing. Stories have this power, don't they, to bring us together. Amna, thank you for allowing me to speak your words. Is there anything you wanted to add?
No, David, it's been such an honor to be part of this project because like some of the comments reflected, it just was, storytelling has that power to connect cultures.
Thank you. So it's your turn. Go into a breakout room. In your breakout room, there will be, I'm sure, one person in your breakout room, probably more than one, but there's only time for one person. So find out who that one person is, who's willing to share a short story, no more than 4 or 5 minutes. Maybe 2 or 3 minutes is ideal, 4 or 5 minutes is possible. So, and tell that story. And what Amna and I would ask you to do is to choose a story which plays this role, which plays the role of telling a story to celebrate diversity. Think about it. In the UK, here I am telling stories from different cultures, from African cultures, like Benin, countries where there's been even a colonial heritage, where there's difficulty. And yeah, who am I as a white British man to tell that story? There are questions here that need to be addressed. It's all about context and respect. Think about what Amna's doing, bringing her story. So if you yourself are telling stories from a minority context, tell a story of this kind. If you yourself come from a majority context, tell a story that you tell to celebrate that diversity. Think about it. Think about many of you are in India. At the moment, that we need to think about the minorities. There are many minorities in India. Hearing those stories as well as the majority stories. So go into a breakout room. One person is going to be established very soon as the storyteller. Tell your story and then find out what the other people in the breakout room, the listeners, make of your story in relation to the stories that you've heard about Hatim Tai and the hunter, stories perhaps about generosity, because it's not only about where the story comes from, it's also what the story tells us, the messages conveyed. So stories that are esteeming celebration of diversity, peace, stories that bring people together, build bridges. We could look at the antelope and magic antelope story as well as about creating a more sustainable environment, a place where there's equity and nature is respected as well. So a story that fits with the theme of generosity and respect. So does that all make sense? So in the breakout room, we've already got 10 minutes before the end of the workshop. So I think we're going to have to just jump straight in. Okay, so we'll go straight into the workshop. We'll bring you out in 8 minutes from now to have a 2-minute roundup. Time has moved on very quickly. Okay, we'll see you in 8 minutes. Eric, please could you pause the recording? Thank you. Veena.
As Eric knows and other Indians know here, India is a land of so much of diversity and culture and languages. I myself come from Mumbai, which speak Marathi, but I'm married to a person who speaks Telugu. And then I lived in Chennai for a few years. I thought I was learning that language, but incidentally, I was learning a third language. So I think, Eric, I was learning Tamil and not Telugu. And the commotion that happened not only in the head, but in the house was a total fun time. I can look back at it now and laugh, but to me, it was really stressful. So I think that's what sort of helped me to learn languages very quickly. And when you learn a language, you gain empathy. If you say bonjour, there you are. and so many other words. So stories connect us, and you collect all these kind of different, and then you find some similarities. Like, I mean, when
Exactly.
like the fisherman and that wish, and some other stories like that. You find so many similarities of Cinderella and so many other stories, and you wonder, hey, that's the story from my land. How come it has reached you? So that's
I
an
think
interesting
finding
part.
cognate stories, finding partner stories or variants is such a rich way
Very
of
rich.
stepping into another culture and learning more.
And
can we have maybe one more comment? Right, thank you very much. Amna, did you want to say anything more?
I just want to thank everyone from the Chennai Festival for letting me come for the first time to share stories. It's been such a beautiful experience. And for David, for everything he's done for any one of his students, he's made us storytellers. And thank you everyone for participating today.
Like I mentioned earlier, Amna is one of the many storytellers around the world who've done courses with me. If anybody, creative and engaging storytelling for teachers is a course that I frequently run. I'm not sure when I'm running it next, but if you would like to be on my mailing list, please do feel free to send me an email. I'll put my email in the chat. And equally, Amna, I'm sure will share your email address in the chat if you're interested in collaborating in projects. Veena.
Sorry to ask permission to speak again, but as I was telling a Warli story from the homeland, from the place that I come, one of our team members has drawn. So if Vinita can put the drawing to the whole group, then the whole group benefits instead of just 3 of us, please, Vinita.
Are you able to help with that, Eric?
What should I do?
She has sent, Vinita has sent me a message. It was a direct message, but she's made a Warli drawing, W-A-R-L-I.
Shall I make you a co-host?
Can Vinita just send the same thing again as to everyone?
I don't know how she can send it to everyone.
Can she hold it up, or is it on paper, or is it?
It's on paper, I think. She drew it as I was telling.
She can hold it up to the camera and we can look at it?
Yes. I was just telling the story, and by the time she drew it and she's put it up here. So I thought it will be good for everybody to see it.
Is she here now? I don't see her name.
I don't know how to send it to. Vinita, are you there? Vinita Bhatnagar, are you there?
Maybe she's not here. So,
all right, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Veena. It's a lovely idea, though, to share an image that's been created in response to one of the stories shared in the breakout rooms. Wonderful. And just a parting question to ponder. And feel free to think about it yourself and to contact me and Amna to share your thoughts. But what are you taking for your practice as a storyteller from our workshop today? What are you taking away? So feel free to ponder that and feel free to get in touch later to share your thoughts. And with that, thank you very much, Chennai and the festival, Eric, and all of us for being present and sharing this experience. Thank you, Amna.
Thank you so much, David and Amna.